Fellow R programmers, we reached our session 20 and we mostly discuss if statements in R. Okay, if statements are used in any programming language and the logic with all of them are the same. Just the difference between them is the syntaxes. Now that you have learned about many of the syntaxes that we have discussed so far, you should expect that, for example, if a statement syntax should be something like this that you see in front of you. Why I'm saying you should expect it? Because you remember in the previous sessions, we always have talked about statements, and you remember they have always been inside curly brackets, as you can see here. So when you want to make an if statement, you have a statement that you want are executed if the conditions are met. Okay, so first I want to start with the parts that you don't need to memorize anything, or in fact there are not something new. So in the curly brackets you put the statement that you want to be run if the condition holds, and similar to the previous ones, if we have discussed it because it is also the case with other programming language, you put the conditions inside parentheses, as you can see here, my friends. So inside the parentheses, you put the condition, and if the condition holds, you run the statement. Okay, why I'm telling you you should know this? Because you remember we talked about conditions before. If you remember, while we were discussing while loop repeats a statement until conditions are not holding anymore. So you see the syntax is very similar to the previous things that we have discussed. You start with if, you put the condition, and if condition holds, something happens inside. For all of them we are going to do some examples together, and as I have always told you, when it is the time for practice, please stop the video, do it yourself before you check the answer with the video. Okay, here we have an example of if a statement in R. It says that x equals to 5. Okay, it is the other way that we can write it. And after that, it writes this: if inside parentheses the condition. So if x greater than 0, does it hold or not hold? The condition x equal to 5, and here it checks if x greater than 0. Excellent, it holds. So it goes and print positive number on the console. Okay, I'm gonna run this on in the IDE, and also I expect you to do the same and check the results before we do an activity together. Here we do the code. I put x equal to 5 if x greater than 0. After that, we go for the statement, print it is positive. It was something like that, as much as I remember. Okay, now we run it. Now we have this. It checks. And what happens if instead of 5, I put -5? So since the conditions are not holding, so this printing command here will not happen when I run this. So you see, it is just read the materials that are over there. And of course, the value that here now we have for x is -5. Okay, let's do an activity. Please do this activity on R before you check the answer with the video in a moment. Write a code in R that gets to inputs of X and Y. When it says it gets to inputs of X and Y, it means that you are assigning initial values in your code to X and Y. Then if X is greater than Y, it prints this message on the console, X is greater than Y. I start coding. First, I give two values, for example, x18 and y equals to 10. As you remember, it says write a code that gets two values for x and y. And after that, checks if x is greater than y. And if that holds, print this message. X is, that's it. So I'm gonna run this, and since the conditions hold, that is x greater than y, you see this message, x is greater than y. What happens if the condition, if I reverse the condition, for example, I put 20, like the previous one, it just get the values, it reads to every line, but no printing happens because printing here is dependent on the condition here. So we have this. And you see, when it reads something, it exactly shows you. For example, when I run all these highlighted codes here, you see exactly the lines that are here. That is a sign that R has read these lines, and since there is no error message, everything is fine. So this if and printing things that you see here is not the execution of printing, it is reading the code. And you can notice that from the fact that curly brackets are here, and also you see this plus sign. That means that it goes to the next line and it needs to read the next line before it executes. Okay, this simple structure is if statement, and always it is easy this much. When you structure, you can do any challenges in this regard. But let's go to the next structure in the category of if statement. You see here, my friends, we are checking if x is greater than y, do this. But what if it is not greater than y? So you see, if this is correct, but what should happen if it is not correct? That's the structure that we are going to do. So have the heads up about the two-part statement that we are gonna make. And the logic is very simple. It checks, it improves this structure in this way, that if x is greater than y, do this. But what if it is not greater than that? So in that way, it supports also the situation that the condition is not holding. Let's check it together. The new structure is called if-else statement. And the structure is like that. The logic is completely the same. Still, you put the condition inside parentheses and you put the statement inside curly brackets. As you can see here, we have the condition in if-else statement structure, and we have the statement in the curly brackets. Okay, so when we check this, it says if the condition holds, do a statement 1, otherwise do a statement 2. And pay attention that when you want to put else, since else is talking about the condition that is opposite of this test condition, there is no need to put it here. So in fact, when it is not holding, the rest comes to the category of else. So no need to put any condition here in the if-else statement. Check the example together before we do an activity together. We have x equals to minus 5. If x is greater than 0, then print non-negative number, and else print negative number. And that's it. So, and if you pay attention, we can improve it, my friend, because it says if x greater than 0, print that non-negative number, and else print it is a negative number. But the point that I want to tell you is that what if we put 0 here? If we put 0 here, still it prints it as a negative number because 0 is not greater than 0, so this condition is not holding, and so it comes to this and prints it negative number. So it is not very important because of course here we want to discuss about the structure of if-else statement, not the delicate mathematical points. I just wanted to mention that. Okay, so let's do it in R before we do an activity. So let's just continue working on the code that we already have ready. Here we have x, we give some initial value. If x greater than 0, print it is positive, and we continue with else. I just put else, there is no need for any condition, and just statement 2, that if it is greater than 0, I say it is positive, and it is not, I will say it is not positive. And that's it. Now we have if-else statement, and you see you have now more power to communicate with your computer with R. So now when I run it, I have something on the console because it is positive or not positive. So I should have some answer on the console. So I run it and I get the answer. Since it is -5, so it says it is not positive. If I change it to 5 and run it another time, it would say it is positive. And that's it. If-else structure. As an activity, please do this on your RStudio IDE before you check the answer in the video. It asks you to write a code in R that gets two inputs of x and y, of course, the same way you did it with activity 1. And if x is greater than y, it prints this message on the console, x is greater than y. Otherwise, it prints x is not greater than y. In fact, it is making activity 1 code more sophisticated, and you just need to do some changes on the code you made on activity 1.